Welcome back to the Pulp. I am your host, Bob, and I have Maddie here with me as well. Today we have two very special guests from Associated Bank, Amy and Tracy. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're going to have a very important topic for all of our employees today. We'll be talking about financial wellness. Information is beneficial for everyone that is viewing this. I mean, who doesn't want to learn how to save more money for retirement or lower their health care costs? Anything that helps our long-term financial well-being. So, with that said, can the two of you introduce yourselves in no particular order? Just let us know a little bit of what you do with Associated.
Sure, I can start. I'm Amy Becker, the relationship manager for the 401k plan. So I work with employers providing education to their employees, going through plan design features, making the plan more attractive and helping retain and recruit employees. And then, fielding any questions from employees on how we can help them save more for retirement.
Excellent. Very familiar with that. I know we've had you on site several times to answer employee questions, and thank you for that.
Yes.
Tracy.
Perfect. My name is Tracy Dyckman. I feel like I have one of the coolest jobs at the bank. I get to partner with businesses and nonprofit organizations and provide financial education. A little bit different than the 401k. We touch base on topics like budgeting or credit score, HSAs, which is our topic today. And our goal is to help you guys retain and engage your employees by making them financially savvy in the communities. So 56% of people say that they're stressed about their finances. Sure. We want to help combat that and hopefully, help them become more engaged in the workforce for you as well.
Well, that's perfect. That's exactly why we asked you to join us. So thanks for coming prepared for that. Well, we like to start things off with a little bit of an icebreaker. This one might be a little bit more of a high-pressure icebreaker than others that we've had. But if imagine somebody's only going to turn into the first 5 minutes. If you could only give one financial tip to our viewers, what would it be?
Increase your contributions on an annual basis until you're between 12 and 15% of your compensation. So once you start, don't stay at that same rate forever. Increase it each January 1st. Increase it at, if you get a merit increase in your compensation, always evaluate that so that you're meeting your retirement goals.
Okay. Solid advice. How about you, Tracy?
Yeah, mine would be to start saving young. The younger, the better. Compound interest is our friend. And especially with HSAs, I wish that I had somebody preaching it to me when I was in my 20s or just starting out because, I'd be in a much different position today than I would be then. So Start early.
I got that advice when I was at the beginning of my career, and I even worked for a company that had what I don't even think is an acronym anymore, ERIC, the employer contribution, with you didn't have to contribute anything, and they just put in a certain percentage. That doesn't exist anymore for all of our you. But it was nice when it did. So as we get into the basics of what we're here to talk about, Amy, why don't you give us a kind of the quick and dirty, what is a 401k? How does it work?
Sure. 401k plan is a benefit plan offered by employers, allowing their employees to save for retirement. You have the option to save on a pre-tax basis, which is where your 401k contributions are withheld before federal and state taxes. Yep. Roth is after. So you have the ability to contribute to the Roth feature as well. So you're paying taxes in today's tax rate. And then as long as you're 59 and a half and have been in the plan with those Roth contributions for 5 years, you can pull it out tax-free. In addition to the earnings on that Roth money is also tax-free. Okay. There's also the discretionary option for employers to do any kind of matching contributions into the 401k plan. So it really is a way for you to save for your future to meet your retirement goals.
Excellent. I have a question that I honestly is a personal question. So I've worked with the different organizations in HR, and I've heard the employer match worded different ways. What is the difference? Is there a difference if a company says we match dollar for dollar up to 3% or 50 cents on the dollar up to 6%?
It's the same contribution. An employee has to put more money in the plan to get if you do a 50 cents on the dollar up to 6, they have to contribute 6% of their pay. So you're really helping the employee meet their goals more because they're contributing a higher percentage of their income versus if you did dollar for dollar up to 3, that employee can contribute 3% of their salary and maximize the employer benefits. So I like to see a strategy in place to help the employee save more on their own. There's a vast majority of our companies do that 50 cents on the dollar up to 6% of compensation.
Interesting. I never knew there was a difference between the two.
Well, I wanted to ask that so I could soundbite that and put it into our orientation. It's a very common question from our new hires.
Yes.
My past company worded it this way, you worded it this way. What's the difference? And I can only really speak to my way. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Follow-up question.
Yes.
What would be some common mistakes to avoid when you're first starting out building your 401k?
Reviewing your contribution rate. So my recommendation is find out what your employer matches. Try and maximize that matching contribution from day one. So if an employer does match 50 cents on the dollar up to 6, I would start at 6%. Increase those contributions every year until you're between 12 and 15. And look at your fund selection. Make sure that the funds that you're in align with your retirement goals and your age. There's a lot of different options that you have in the plan to meet those goals. So just make sure that you have an understanding of where your money is being invested from day one. And, we are here to help with those questions as well.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Amy. And then moving into the HSA side of things. So again, just easy definition. How does it differ from, a lot of folks confuse HSAs and FSAs.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. So the easiest way to think of an HSA or a health savings account is an individually owned savings account for yourself, really. Some of the benefits of an HSA are they provide tax savings, reimbursement for yourself. You can be flexible with that throughout your life too. You can reimburse yourself right away for qualified medical expenses. You can do it in the future. You can wait until you want to retire and get one lump sum payout for it. They're fully vested funds right away. You get interest on savings, you get return on your investments. An HSA specifically, if we're comparing it to an FSA, it's not a use it or lose it account. So an FSA, if you don't utilize the funds in the account, you do lose them. With an HSA, they stay with you for life.
Excellent. And that's a really good point you make that I'd like for all of our employees to make note of. Actually, I'm going to circle back and have them make note of two things. One is I do want to confirm that when Amy was talking about confirming what your company matches, ours is exactly what we're describing, the 50 cents on the dollar up to the 6%. And the HSA side, so many of us, myself included, unless it's right in front of me, I only think of the HSA as those are my funds that are available for my medical expenses. Don't always think about the dividends and the savings portion of that. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Absolutely. So who qualifies to open an HSA?
So anybody that is enrolled in an HSA qualified medical plan that meets the IRS requirements. So it's usually a high deductible medical plan. You cannot be enrolled in any other plans that provide like a first dollar coverage. So that would include Medicare, TRICARE, or VA benefits. Healthcare flexible spending accounts accept the limited purpose account as well, and then you can't be claimed as anybody else's dependent on their tax returns in order to qualify.
Okay. And I know you've already touched on some of the key benefits, tax savings, rollover, investment potential. Is there anything else you'd like to elaborate on that in?
So the 4 key benefits that really set an HSA apart is you are the account holder from day one. You have the ability to deposit money into your own HSA and it stays there regardless of where you're employed. So even if you switch employers throughout your life, that money is yours. It goes tax-free, or the money goes in tax-free, it grows tax-free, and it's tax-free on your distributions. You can use it to pay for qualified medical expenses, like I said. They are definitely growing in popularity as a secondary retirement fund that you can utilize. So with ours, once you have $500 in your HSA fund, you can start investing. And we actually use the same investment platform as our 401k.
Okay. So you two ever internally battling for those retirement funds then? 401k and the HSA? Goodness,
I know I met with my financial advisor and we were just talking about everything that we have and what we could do and stuff, and they mentioned an HSA and it was something that I had never thought about or even knew that we could invest in. I'm sure you guys have sent stuff out before that talked about investing in, and I just missed it or didn't read it, but I was like, oh wow, yeah, I didn't think about growing that money that's in there.
Well, I do have to say that this has been such a good conversation. We're hitting on a lot of the things that are coming up. So I just want to recognize we've talked a little bit about start contributing right away, the contribution limit strategies increasing as time goes on to get to that 12-15. What else is there to share as far as strategies for when you were earlier in your career versus a bit more seasoned, and how the compounding of things works over time?
So the compounding of interest is time is money. So that, when Tracy said start early, that's a huge factor in how much money you'll have at retirement, because you're getting growth on the investment growth of your initial earnings. So time really is money. So start contributing right away. Make sure that you're diversifying your funds. As you get closer to retirement, make sure that you're having some conversations with your advisor on, do you need to de-risk your account and go into some more conservative, implement some conservative funds in your portfolio. So always make sure that you're looking and just being aware of how much is in your account, what are your retirement goals. As you leave employers, take into consideration your 401k plan. There are options on rolling it out into another plan. Just make sure that you're aware of all of your options.
Okay. Thank you for that again. So kind of taking it back to the HSA side, Tracy, what would be some, I don't know if there are tips or strategies about utilizing the funds for current versus maybe future healthcare costs?
Yeah, so you can utilize the HSA in 3 different ways. Okay. So first off, you can use it on short-term spending. So any qualified medical expenses, that you need that come up immediately, you can use the HSA for. You can use it as a long-term investment account or save it for emergencies, or you can use it as a secondary retirement account. So those are the three biggest key ways to utilize it. We make it really easy. And I speak to our HSA, but we have a wonderful app that you can utilize. We give you a debit card when you open up the HSA, so you can, pay your medical bill right there on site. You can set up payments. Like I know my daughter, she had braces, so I set up monthly payments, online bill pay to pay her orthodontist. And it was so simple to utilize. You can keep your receipts. You can, get back the payment if you don't want to utilize the debit card, but I don't really know anybody that wouldn't. It just makes it much easier to track everything. So it is a long-term investment fund. If you're able to pay for your medical costs out of pocket right now, you can keep those receipts and you can reimburse yourself later for it. So when I say keep the receipts, we also track it on the mobile app for you. So we do make it easy. It's just if it's ever questioned, it's nice to have those receipts on file.
Mm-hmm. I have noted the triple tax advantage. Mm-hmm. What would you describe that as? Is that what you just described already, or is that something
no?
different?
So your money, it goes into the account tax-free.
Okay.
It grows tax-free. Okay. And when you use the money on unauthorized medical expenses later in life, it goes out tax-free as well. Okay. For the distributions.
Well, we hit the trifecta then.
Yes.
So, kind of moving into some frequently asked questions or misconceptions about either or both of these plans. I'm sure a very common thing that you hear, that I know I hear, I can't afford to put that much in right now. What's the answer to that for someone? Because I feel like it's a self-perpetuating thing. I'll do it after Valentine's Day. I'll do it after Easter. I'll do it after Memorial Day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is a huge hurdle we have to jump with people. But I always like people to do there's some calculators online that people have access to. You can enter all of your paycheck information into these calculators, and it will tell you exactly how much your 401k deduction will be and then what your net pay will be as well. I always tell people start at something small. If you can't afford to put in 6% and maximize the employer match, start at 3%. Set a goal to increase that rate by at least 1% a year or even every other year. Just make sure that you're constantly adjusting that to meet your retirement goals, but get started. Pre-tax, keep in mind that deduction is withheld, before any federal or after any federal and state. So you're not paying taxes on that pre-tax deduction. So it's not as impactful as people would think it is. And just think long term. We all have to save for retirement. It's very important that we're setting money aside. And even if you start small, you can always increase your rate over the years.
I've always heard too, it's best to do it right when you start, so you don't even notice it gone from your
Exactly.
paycheck. And even if you start with that little bit that you don't notice is already gone, just helps for when you go to increase later on.
It absolutely does. Yes.
Yeah. And somebody gave me a tip when I started contributing to my 401k that whenever you get an increase in wages, take 1% of that and add it to your 401k every year. And then, it'll just keep increasing, but that 1% you don't really miss on your paycheck at all.
Good tips.
Make a note of that to give that advisement during our orientations to individuals. So I want to make sure I say, I know the answer to this or I won't look like a very good HR director. Not that. So what happens when I lose a job? But do I lose my 401k if I leave the company?
That's a great question. No, you do not. There are such things. So all of your deferral or any Roth contributions that you put in, those are all of yours. And depending upon how long you've been with the company and what their vesting schedule is, you may or may not be fully vested in those employer contributions. That should be on your 401k statement on the website. So you should always know what vested percentage you are. No, you will never lose it. You can roll it in to your new employer plan. You can leave it in the 401k plan if your balance is over $7,000. So yeah, you'll never lose it, and you can, continue if you have a new employer, roll it in and keep adding to it. That is an option that you have.
It's good to know.
And Tracy, can I use my HSA money for non-medical expenses?
After the age of 65, you can.
Oh, a little bit of a wait. All right.
Yes. So, at that point, if you're healthy as a whip and you want that Corvette that you've always been dreaming about, you certainly can. You just will be taxed on it just like you would a 401k plan.
2 questions I actually didn't make note of, but that I want to ask because they're common ones. So, can I use my HSA funds for a family member's medical expenses that aren't one of my dependents?
Spouse or dependents you would be able to use.
Okay,
yes.
And that's the question I'm driving at, because we do have folks that want to know, I want to help out my cousin, I want to help out any relative you can think of under the sun. And so I want to make sure that they're aware that it doesn't be a dependent or a spouse or child.
Yes, it needs to be a legal dependent.
And then another comment. What about my pets? Can I use my HSA for veterinary expenses?
Unfortunately, no.
So
unless it's prescribed.
Someone other than Bob Gress.
Unless they can find a doctor that would prescribe that.
I don't know if you hear these same questions, but I have heard them multiple times. And there's no such thing as a bad question.
Yes.
No, not at all.
Not at all. All right. And you've already shared, I just want to point out again, I had a question here. What happens if I don't use all my HSA money within the year? It is a rollover scenario. It is not used, or that is the FSA.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, not quite wrapping up yet, but I want to tie some of what we've talked about into our benefit plan. So, when we talk about the 401k, Amy Becker is a wonderful resource for all of our employees to utilize. She comes into the Appleton location and helps us sometimes multiple times a year. Want to encourage everybody to follow the advisement that they've heard from her and to be aware of that 50 cents on the dollar up to 6% match that Procon has in place. I want to encourage all of our employees to go online and check their balances often, make sure that to the extent that they have an opportunity to contribute to their HSA, that they're doing so. Is there anything else from a general information that I'm missing before we start to wrap things up?
There's online deferral changes. So if you are at that point where I haven't increased in a couple of years or a while, you can just log into your account, click on your current contribution rate and make that adjustment. We take care of notifying the employer. So if you haven't adjusted in a while, please take a look at that contribution rate. Again, you want to strive to get to between 12 and 15% of your pay.
All right.
And I think we have contact information for you. If we don't have any for you, we'll get that out there. Is there anyone else that they should contact, or just the Associated website in general?
The Associated website. Our customer care team is open until 9 p.m. during the week and then 8 to 5 on Saturday. So that number is 800-431-4649, option 2.
Wow,
See if we can get that across the screen. That'd be perfect. Any last pieces of advice from you, Tracy?
Yeah, I just wanted to also note that the IRS does set the limits for the HSA plan. So for an individual for 2025, it is $4,300. For a family, it's $8,550. So once you are making contributions to an HSA, you guys actually do a really healthy match for them as well, which would be subtracted from those IRS limits. So if anybody does have questions on that, I'm assuming they can come to you.
It is important to know that they absolutely can. And it's important to keep that in mind that while our contributions are generous, they don't allow for anything above that IRS limit. So Correct. That has to be included with what the employees contribute.
Correct. And if somebody is over the age of 55, they can do a $1,000 makeup contribution as well annually, so they can add that to those limits.
Well, we started off with that one quick hit question. We're going to end up with another one. I might just be wording the same thing differently, but if saving for retirement was like packing for a trip, what's the one thing you tell folks not to forget?
Don't forget to call Associated Bank if you have questions. And don't forget to set your annual appointment with me to do a review of your 401k account.
Check and check. 2 great pieces of advice.
And I would tell them not to forget about the length of their journey. So you wouldn't pack like one pair of socks for a 2-week trip. So, certainly think about what you want retirement to look like for yourself and what your vision is, and reevaluate that throughout your life.
That's right.
Because we all have different journeys and we all want retirement to look differently for us. So
at the end of the day, we shape that for ourselves. Right?
We do. Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. This was a really good episode from my perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
Just for our listeners again, we have Amy and Tracy here on the show. We know that, the 401k, HSA, in the vast forest of benefits, they can seem overwhelming when you're looking at them with everything. But, as you break them down and look at them individually, they're very user-friendly, very important, and helpful to anybody that contributes to them or participates in them. So, again, Amy, Tracy, been a real pleasure having you. If you have any questions as a viewer, always can direct them to HR, but we've also got the number that was shared by Amy earlier that we'll try to get on the screen as we show this. So, again, thanks for tuning in. Till next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep making ProCon great.